You're listening to the Patenting for Inventors podcast with registered patent attorney, Dr. Adam Diament, founder of Diament Patent Law, the #1 source for securing your intellectual property needs. Now, here's your host, Adam Diament.
Hello and welcome to the Patenting for Inventors podcast, episode 129, How to Review the History of a Patent Application Using a Public Pair. My name is Adam Diament, a registered patent attorney and founder and owner of Diament Patent Law in Los Angeles, California. I can be contacted through my website at diamentpatentlaw.com. That's DIAMENT patentlaw.com, or call me at 424-281-0162. You know, I've covered at least the basics of pretty much everything that can happen during the patent application process. I can't discuss every detail because if you've ever looked at the manual for patent examining procedure on paper, it looks like 2 gigantic phone books. My goal is that you have enough knowledge to have a productive conversation with an attorney such as myself when you're going through the process. So when the attorney says, our options are filing a pre-appeal brief, a request for continuing examination, or using the after final consideration pilot 2.0 program, you won't have a complete blank stare. Now, maybe still a blank stare, but not a complete blank stare. But I did think of something that I hadn't discussed before, and that's using public pair to find the history of patent applications. What is pair, and why is it public, and what is it used for? Pair stands for the Patent Application Information Retrieval, and it's the government database that stores the entire history of what happened during the patent application process. If you just do a regular patent search on Google or free patents online, or even the USPTO website, you'll pull up a patent or patent application and you will just see that published application or the published patent, and that's it. But that's really just the final product. Let's say you did a Google search and you saw that a patent application was filed, but then it went abandoned. Google Patents will just tell you that it was filed and it was abandoned. But why? Did they just not pay some fee they had to pay? Did they get a rejection and never responded? Did they respond to a rejection but weren't able to convince the patent examiner? Now, you might want to know this because let's say you came up with something very similar and you came across this patent application and it was like yours. Maybe yours is a little bit different, but if their patent got rejected because of some other related application out there, you might want to know that because if that's what happened to their application, there's a good chance you might get the same rejection. If it just went abandoned because they didn't pay some fee, then maybe that's not that concerning for you. Also, getting the complete file history is also useful to you if you want to file your own application because you can see every document filed. You can see how their powers of attorney looked, what their declarations of inventorship looked like, what their assignments looked like, the format of how they responded to any rejections, and any other document that either the inventor submitted to the patent office and that the patent office sent to the inventors. I mentioned public pair, which means if you're thinking logically that maybe there's something called private pair, and yes, there is. Private pair has the same information as public pair, but private pair is when you're looking at the file history of your own patent application before your application goes public. Remember, most of the time, your patent application is not publicly available until 18 months after you file it. After that, other people can look it up, but you can look it up yourself if on private pair, if you set up an account and enter your login and password on the Patent Office website. I talked about setting up an account on the Patent Office website and how to do that in a previous episode. So if you forget what you've submitted to the Patent Office, you can look it up on private pair. After 18 months, that same information that was on private pair now becomes available on public pair, where you don't need any login information. All you need is an application number or patent number, and I'm going to run through an example. The website URLs may change, so I can only tell you what works now about how to get to public pair. Currently, you can get to it directly by typing in portal.uspto.gov/pair/public pair. You have to put in a number and select whether you are putting in an application number, a control number, a patent number, a PCT number, or a publication number, or an international design registration number. I'm going to put in a patent number, and if you're a fan of the podcast, you know which patent I'm going to put in. It's my favorite kitchen gadget, the avocado pitting device that splits, pits, and slices an avocado in one tool, put out by OXO. It's patent number 8726799. So click the button that says patent number and then type in that number. Once you do that, you get to the pair screen and there are a bunch of tabs. The first tab will show you what's called the bibliographic data. It says the inventor's name, when it was patented, when it was filed, and just some basic information. If you want the entire file history of every document related to this patent, you click the tab that says Image File Wrapper. By my counting, it looks like there are 100 different files there. You can sort it in different ways. The way that I like to sort it is that there's a column called mailroom date, and this is the date that the patent office received or sent the file, and you can make it either chronological or reverse chronological. By default, it's reverse chronological. I don't like that way, so I like to click it so it's in regular chronological order. So as I'm scrolling down, it's like I'm scrolling through time. If you click the arrow button, so it's in regular chronological order, you can see the first file submitted, which was August 23rd, 2011, and the last date is September 22nd, 2021. I was actually a little surprised to see this date because the patent actually issued in 2013, but we're going to go through it, see what happened. Now you can click each file separately, and a new window will pop up of the PDF of that file, but what I like to do is on the far right column, there's a column that says PDF. And if you click the button next to that, it will select every file there is, and you can see checkboxes show up to each file. Then click the purple PDF button, and what this does is it makes a single PDF of the entire patent history. It's called the image wrapper. The file it creates will have bookmarks for each individual file, so it's easy to navigate in one PDF. But you can look at it directly on Pair itself and just click one by one if you want. You'll see that there were 19 files uploaded on that first date. You can see the information disclosure sheet, which is a listing the inventors uploaded of similar products that they knew about. You'll see an upload of what's called non-patent literature. Maybe it's product catalogs, photos of similar devices. You'll see the application data sheet that you have to upload that gives the patent office some basic information about the applicant and the inventors. You'll see the specification, the claims, the abstract, the drawings, the declaration of inventorship, all the things needed for a proper upload of an application. So if you want to see how people actually filled out and uploaded the actual forms, and you can see exactly how they did it. I'm not saying to copy it exactly because maybe they did it wrong, but if they did do it wrong and the patent office caught it, then the patent office will send them a notice to fix it. And that will also be in the listing of documents. So you can see what they did wrong and what they had to do in order to fix it, and whether when they tried to fix it, they did it right and it was accepted. There are a lot of files that you probably won't care about, like a fee worksheet and acknowledgement receipts. The ones that you probably do want to look for are things that have the word rejection or response. You can see that on March 11, 2013, they received a non-final rejection. You can click that to see what the rejection was about. And in this case, the examiner found something similar and rejected their application. Then if you scroll down a little bit further on the files, you can see on May 9th, there's an amendment and request for reconsideration of the non-final rejection. You'll also see separate claims files, so you can see that the inventors changed some of their claims to try to distinguish it from the prior art. Then on June 21st, 2013, they got a final rejection. The examiner cited some more prior art that had similar features, and the examiner still refused to give a patent. Then on August 2nd, 2013, the inventors filed a response after final using the after final consideration program request. Remember, final doesn't mean final. I talked about all the things you can do when you receive a final rejection. You can click that file to see what they did, and you can see that they amended the claims a little bit more to make it narrower. Then yada, yada, yada. As I said, there are 100 files in this wrapper. I'm not going to go through every single one, just some of the main things. Still, they didn't get a patent after that. So they filed a request for continued examination on August 29th, made some more claim amendments, new arguments. Then again, on October 4th, they received a non-final rejection. Why is it non-final when it was final before? Go back and listen to my episodes on what happens when you receive a final rejection. You can file a request for continued examination. Basically, you get 2 more bites of the apple with payment, and that's what they did. So their first rejection after the request for continued examination is a non-final rejection. Then on December 26th, you can see they made even more amendments, more arguments about why they should get a patent. My point of going through this all is not to just tell you the file history, but that you can literally see the documents they filed and what's in those documents and use them as a guide for what to do or not to do next if you get some type of similar rejection, or you want to see the formatting of things and stuff like that. Obviously, the arguments they make will have nothing to do with the arguments you make, but sometimes you just want to see what a particular file looks like and what you need to do, when you file or you want to file a request for continued examination. You can see all those forms and how it's done. Then on March 20th, 2014, guess what happened? Ba-ba-ba-bam, notice of allowance. Then 5 days later, you can see that they paid a fee to get their patent allowed. And then the issue notification came out on April 30th, 2014. And that was the last I knew about it when I talked about, this product in my early episodes of this podcast. I just thought it was one of the millions of patents that sits there and does nothing. But then you could see on June 24th, 2021, there's a file called Report on the Filing or Determination of an Action Regarding a Patent. If you click on that file they uploaded, it says that the patent owner is suing IKEA for patent infringement. Now, I'm not saying this is true, but one of my podcasts was so popular that IKEA listened to it, liked the idea of the avocado slicer I talked about so much, and they thought they could pull a fast one and start selling their own avocado slicer that was a knockoff of this one. Or maybe someone told OXO that someone did a podcast that focused on their avocado slicer, so they decided to look around to see if anyone was infringing and saw what IKEA was doing. It does have the OXO name on it, but the actual owner of the patent is a company called Helen of Troy. Now, this is not on Pair itself, but I looked up the complaint that was filed in court, and I see that in the complaint, the OXO brand, or the Helen of Troy, so that this tool garnered unsolicited media praise and lists a whole bunch of places like Business Insider, E-Online Tools, Food and Wine, and some other places that have praised the tool. I'm a little disappointed that I wasn't mentioned, but oh well. You can see in the complaint that the version that IKEA is selling, and it looks different enough. No one would think this is a counterfeit. But if you remember for patents, it's not about how something looks. Whether there's infringement only depends on whether the words in the claims of the patents are in some other product that has those same features. If the patent said a device having a multi-slicer region, a pitting region with spokes, and a blade all connected together, then it doesn't matter if someone came up with something that looked visually similar to the OXO one or looked visually different. If it's about visual similarity, then we're talking about design patents or trade dress infringement. But if it's about the pieces of something that make it work, then it's a utility patent. Now, OXO actually has a design patent too, and honestly, these do look pretty different. It's a real stretch. I don't think any ordinary consumer would think that IKEA's version is the same as what's in the design patent also. But, patent litigators, they'll throw in the kitchen sink for patent litigation sometimes and hope something sticks. You can see the very last document on Pair. It says there's a joint stipulation of dismissal that was filed on September 22nd, 2021, just a few weeks ago from when I'm recording this. So somehow they came to some kind of agreement. I'm sure you could look it up somewhere. Maybe IKEA paid them to settle the case. Got a little sidetracked here from focusing on Pair because there was some action on my favorite kitchen gadget. But the whole point was that you can find out a whole lot more about a patent and the process it went through by going through Public Pair. There is some other information you might find useful on Public Pair besides the image file wrapper. There's a tab to see if there are any patent term adjustments, which lets you know if the patent is going to get any time besides the typical 20 years of protection. In this case, it's getting an extra 139 days because of the time it took to get a patent. There's a tab called Continuity Data, and this tells you if the patent claims priority to anything earlier or whether there were later applications based on this application. And in this case, there was an international PCT application that was filed based on this application. There's a tab called Fees, which lets you know when fees are paid and what fees are going to be due and how much those fees are going to be to keep this patent active. There's a tab called Published Documents, which will link to the published application and the published patent. Those publications may be different because the publication is what the application looked like when it was more or less filed. But by the time it issued, there may have been changes to the application to get allowed. There's a tab for the address of the attorney or firm that handled the patent. There's a tab for assignments, so you can see the files that were submitted that give rights from the inventors to the company. And the last tab is called Display References. And that's if you want to see all the listed references that the inventor and the patent examiner entered into this file that they considered similar enough so that they should be listed in this application file. So hope you learned a lot about Public Pair and all the detailed information you can get compared to what you see if you're just doing a basic patent search. If you want help with your patent application, trademarks, copyrights, responding to rejections, appeals, or anything else related to your invention, you can contact me directly through my website at diamentpatentlaw.com. That's DIAMENT patentlaw.com, or email me at adam@diamentpatentlaw.com, or call me at 424-281-0162. I'm Adam Diament, and until next time, keep on inventing.
Thanks for listening to the Patenting for Inventors podcast. For more information and help with your own intellectual property needs, contact Adam Diament directly by going to diamentpatentlaw.com. That's DIAMENT patentlaw.com. Or click the show links to connect by phone, text, or social media. The contents of this podcast are intended for general informational purposes only. The facts of every legal matter are unique, and the content of this podcast should not be construed as offering legal advice for your specific legal situation. The preceding information may be considered an attorney advertisement and does not establish any attorney-client relationship.